Hello, my name is Alice, and at this point in my channel, where we're a few videos in, I think it's pretty clear that I'm very passionate about my fandoms and the things I'm interested in. Now, this is something that has been true about me since I was a child. I do have the ability to like things casually, I promise, but a lot of the time, I get very fixated on something and I'm super into it, and it's all I can talk about and all I can think about. And yeah, I think that's one of the biggest clues that I'm probably not neurotypical. I'm not diagnosed with anything, actually, but I am very sure I'm not. But that being said, fandoms have always been a very big part of my life. And if anyone in my life thought that would stop when I turned into an adult, they were wrong. Now, in 2023, for example, when Good Omens Season 2 came out, I became obsessed with it, together with my friend, and it was like all we talked about for months on end. And then that kind of ended, and I got into Hell of a Boss. Now, I know that is a little bit of a controversial fandom and a controversial series. I don't really care about that. I think it's great in many ways and it's bad in many ways, and I'll leave it at that. I was very fixated on it for about a year, but recently that fixation kind of faded. I still like it, of course. I still like all of my old hyperfixations, but I have a new one. Sorry, I did not write a script for this video, and it kind of shows, but back when I was about 12, maybe, I was really into Steven Universe, which you can hear about in my last video. It was a very long Steven Universe video. But anyway, Steven Universe was connected to a lot of other fandoms that were big at the time, like Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, Undertale, and also Homestuck. So, in reality, I've known about Homestuck for a long time. I've seen the characters, I've heard the names, I've heard about the Sharpie bath. But back then, I never really wanted to get into it because in all truth, I saw the fandom and how kind of gatekeepy some of them were, and I just was discouraged to get into it. I also thought it seemed way too convoluted and complicated for me. I was like, I don't wanna, nah. So I never got into it as a preteen teen, But I think it's pretty safe to say if I had started reading it back then, I would probably have been hooked. Because when the pilot came out, what was it, a couple of months ago, me and my girlfriend watched it because my girlfriend is an avid fan of Homestuck and has been since she was small. So she has, lore dumped me a little bit during the years. But I've never really cared that much about it. Of course, I've listened, but it just wasn't my thing. But we watched the pilot together, and I was like, this looks kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. Maybe I should give it a shot because, my girlfriend also brought up the fact that the pilot doesn't necessarily reflect how the comic is. And so I decided, you know what? We should read the comic together. Of course, she was really happy, and I was like, yeah, fun. Not fun. I am so fixated on Homestuck right now, and it's insane, and it's low-key, high-key embarrassing to get into Homestuck in the year of our Lord 2025 at 21 years old. Hello, I am literally on my last year of university. I'm about to graduate, and here I am, hyperfixated on fucking Homestuck. What? Also, kind of an embarrassing transition to go from Hell of a Boss to Homestuck as well. I'm such a cringe fandom connoisseur right now, I feel. But yeah, anyway, that aside, since I'm very fixated on Homestuck right now, I am obviously going to turn that into content. So I have drawn all of the 4 beta kids. If you don't know anything about Homestuck, me saying beta kids might sound kind of worrying. It's not it's just timelines, it's whatever. But anyway, I've drawn the 4 beta kids, so John, Dave, Rose, and Jade, and then I have drawn all of the 12 like Alternian trolls. So yes, I have drawn 16 characters in total, over the span of like what, a week and a half. I'm just that insane right now. And so I just thought I'd create this non scripted kind of random video where I'll just show you all the designs and give you some commentary like along the way. Again, this video is not scripted, so sorry it's so all over the place. I just want to dump my interest here right now. So yeah, I mean, without further ado, let's kind of get into it. I have drawn, all of these characters, kind of how they looked when they were first introduced. So for example, Dave will like not have his little record symbol on his shirt. It will not be cracked because it wasn't cracked from the beginning, and like so on. So yeah, I'll explain further as the video goes on, and let's just get into it. So first of all, we have John Egbert, because, well, he's the first character we're ever introduced to in Homestuck. Now, I will warn you that there will be spoilers in this video, so if you haven't read at least, you know, the first original Homestuck comic, you might get spoiled. Now, personally, I haven't finished it yet. I'm still following the updates as the website updates, so I haven't reached the end yet, so don't spoil me either. I do know of some things that happens like in the epilogues and in Homestuck 2 though, because, you know, my girlfriend has talked to me about it before I got into Homestuck, but just in case, don't spoil me in the comments. Thanks. But John, okay, so I wanted him to be a kind of stereotypical, like nerdy boy. I mean, the references I used were, first of all, their little sprites that they have in the comics, but also, the sprites they have in the, Pester Quest game. So my designs obviously look quite similar to how they already look in the series and in the games. But I just wanted to add like my own little flair to them and to draw them in my style. That being said, this style that I draw all of these characters in, it's like a slightly simplified version of my style. Just because there were so many characters, I didn't want to put too much time into each one. But yeah. I do really like how John turned out. Again, he's kind of basic. He looks like a regular nerd, I'm not gonna lie. He's like doing like the arm, actually, kind of pose. But I think he turned out quite cute. I wanted to use this kind of challenge to challenge myself to draw more poses with like more movement, because usually when I draw someone just standing, it just looks so stiff, and that is a thing I really struggle with. So I wanted to kind of use this as an opportunity to try and get into more dynamic poses, to just get the movement in there and get the shapes in there too. As I said before, the style I usually draw in is a little bit more realistic, a little bit more detailed, and I mean, this is more cartoony than I usually draw, so the more cartoony you get, I feel the more you can work on expressions and movements and shapes, as opposed to just like getting it to look right, you know, anatomically and stuff. Because the more cartoony you get, the more like exceptions to real life anatomy you can get away with, I think. So that's what I did with John. I wanted him to be very like lanky and skinny, and that his clothes are just kind of very baggy on him because he's a small little stick, basically. I also, I don't usually draw characters in this age range. Now, all of these characters are about 13, I think, like in human years. So I wanted all of them to look like 13-year-olds. Like, I didn't want them to look, because I feel like when people draw 13-year-olds, either they look way too young or like way too mature. And I think it's because it's really hard to draw like that specific age, 12, 13, when you're a preteen and you're just getting into your teens, but you haven't really left your like childish features yet. And I also think it's hard because everyone is in such different stages of puberty at 13. I mean, I personally started puberty at like 10, so at 13, I mean, yes, I looked like a child if I look back at it now, but I mean, some of my peers looked younger than me, and some of them look older than me. It's like everyone looks very different at that age because we all develop at different paces and at different times in our lives, and there's usually like a difference between girls and boys as well. Like, boys usually get their growth spurts and whatnot like a year or so later than girls, usually, statistically. um, so I kind of wanted to bring that into this challenge as well, to really make these kids look like uh, tweens and teens, and for them to be at various stages of puberty or whatever. I don't know how well I captured that. I think I did fine, I'm not gonna lie, and I am quite happy with the end results of most of these designs. Jan in particular, he's one of my favorite ones. I love like the shape language I managed to create with him, and I love his little clothes. I do think that his clothes look more 80s-ish than like early 2000s, but at the same time I feel like that was also what was associated with being a nerd in the early 2000s, like high-waisted pants and like baggy shirts and stuff like that, because like tucked into your pants, because that was a fashion trend that was very, very much present in like the 80s and 90s, and so it was kind of considered outdated in the early 2000s, and therefore it was considered like nerdy or ugly or whatever. So not saying that I'm trying to make John ugly, but yeah, I don't know, I just thought that style kind of fit him. And also because he watches some 80s movies and stuff, maybe he got like inspired by those and stuff, I don't know. But yeah, I was quite happy with how he turned out. It was a great start to this series. It gave me a lot of confidence, and I really felt like I found a style that would work for this. So yeah, without further ado, let's move on. The next person I drew was Jade Harley. Now, to begin, I wanted her to look a bit similar to John, like mainly in her facial features and her like color scheme. Now, this is because obviously they are related. They're basically brother sister, but also kind of not. um, but point being, they're related in one way or another genetically. So I wanted her to kind of look a bit like John. So I also made her very like skinny, lanky, and a little bit taller. Now I made her taller than him, and I'm thinking that this is something that will maybe change with age. But this is just kind of an example of what I talked about earlier, that I wanted to really show how like 12, 13 can look very different for different people, and how maybe Jade like got her growth spurt before John. So maybe Jade is considered tall right now, but she's done growing, and then in a year John grows like past her or whatever. I just kind of wanted to get that like preteen 13-year-old feel into it, because I remember being 13, and everyone just looking so, again, incredibly different, even though we were the same age. So I just wanted to kind of include that into her design. Otherwise, I gave her this little like vest, because I saw that they gave her a t-shirt and then a long-sleeved shirt underneath in the game. So I wanted to kind of add more, because she's also a little bit like nerdy in a way. She has a little interest, and I kind of wanted, that's like another kind of nerd stereotype, like vests. And I kind of wanted to, I guess I'm just reclaiming all nerd stereotypes in this video, goddamn. But I just thought it fit her design a lot, and I think she's so cute. But essentially, I wanted to strive away from the t-shirt because I know a lot and a lot and a lot of the characters just have a plain t-shirt or a plain long sleeved shirt. And I wanted to kind of put some like variables in there. So I gave her a vest instead of a t-shirt. Just because I know, John has a regular long sleeved shirt. I know that Dave has a t-shirt, like I just felt like it would be kind of repetitive. So I gave her the vest. Also, I know that she wears several different symbols on shirts and stuff. I chose this one because it's the furthest away from the others, or from John's specifically. And I also wanted to include her little bands that she has around her fingers as reminders. Also, shoes. I struggled so much with shoes in this video. I hate drawing shoes. They always just look like clumps of potatoes or something. Like, they look like painted potatoes. It looks like someone stuck their foot in a potato and painted it to look like a shoe. That's what it looks like when I draw shoes. I hate drawing shoes and feet, honestly. Hands, I feel like, yes, they're hard, but I've gotten better at them. But feet and like shoes, no, keep them away from me, please. And I had to draw so many of them, and I think you'll notice during all of these drawings that, like, in the beginning I really tried to actually make the shoes look like normal shoes, and then and like using references and stuff, and then eventually that just kind of fades away and I give up. But yeah, anyway, I'm pretty satisfied with how Jade turned out. The only thing is I wanted her to also have a very like fluid moving pose, so she's kind of tilted her hip to the side, and I don't know if I managed that. It kind of looks a little bit like her leg is broken, I fear. I tried to fix it when I noticed it, but I'm like not super satisfied with it. I think you can see what I was going for, but I don't really know if I fully accomplished it. So I guess that's something I'm not super proud of, but I do like how she turned out in the end. I think she's cute. I know that she gets dog features later in the comic, and so I thought it would be cute if I made her little button nose look a little bit like a dog nose or a snout. So I tried to go for that, and I thought that turned out cute. Also, it's so hard to translate like the hair in Homestuck to this style, right? Because they all have this really pin straight, like usually messy, really pointy hair that was very common of art in like the early 2000s. So I tried to replicate that the best I could, but I also felt like everyone can't have that hair texture, so I tried to be a little bit varied as well. But yeah, that's Jade, so let's move on. The next character is Dave Strider. Now, I've low-key been fearing to comment about this one because there's not much to say. I think Dave just looks like such a dude. He just looks like a dude. I can't really say much else. Dave is one of my favorite characters, but he is really just a dude. And my design reflects that. He has kind of a boring, more chill pose. He's standing there with his hands in his pockets, a little bit bent, just staring through his fucking shades. Like, I don't know. There's not much to say about this design, I fear. I did the same thing with Dave and then Rose, as you'll see after this, as I did with John and Jade, that I tried to make them look kind of similar and have similar build and like similar color schemes and faces and stuff like that. So Dave and Rose both have blonde hair, and I gave them each a little mole in their face, just to kind of show that they're like a little bit connected or related. I also made them a little shorter and a little, I would not say wider, they're still pretty skinny, I'm not even gonna lie, but a little bit more sturdy or whatever. They're not as lanky and like stick skinny as John and Jade is. Yeah, I gave, again, about the shoes, I gave Dave these shoes that I knew, I have no idea if they were popular back in the early 2000s. I did not have the energy to research that, but I know they were popular, um like, I don't know, 5, 10 years ago, with like teen boys in this age group, like 12 to 13. I know my brother had a pair. I never liked them, which is why I put them on Dave. I feel like he would think they were super cool or something. And I mean, their shoes, whatever. Um Also, I had to kind of trace the symbol on his shirt because it is pixelated even in like the game art style, and so I just decided, like, okay, so this image is just pixelated. So I kind of traced over it just to get the pixels right and everything. I do actually have pixel brushes, but I don't think you could. Yes, you can make them as big as I had to for this, but yeah, whatever. It was a little bit hard to know what to do with his hair, because it's just kind of it's kind of just flat and has some points here and there. I don't know if I should like interpret that as like a slick back kind of style, or just that it's just semi long and it's just laying where it naturally wants to lay. I don't know. Dave doesn't really strike me as the kind of dude to just spend hours and hours on caring about his hair, so I just kind of made it into this easily manageable haircut that just kind of, yeah, lays where it wants to. Now, again, I don't really have much to say about this design because it's just so simple. But I can talk a little bit quickly about what I think of Homestuck. Because honestly, I was like surprised by how well written most of the characters are, and like how you really get a good glimpse into almost every character, even if there are so many. Like, I'm a person that's really bad with names, so usually when I'm looking at a franchise that has a lot of characters, I just kind of go, like, I don't really have the energy to care about them all, and I feel like, sure, in Homestuck I don't care about every single character, but I do feel like I know a lot of names and stuff like that. And yes, it took me a while to learn them, but I still feel like it's a pretty impressive feat to be able to tell so many stories at the same time and still make it make somewhat sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, Homestuck can be a bit convoluted and hard to understand sometimes, but I feel like there is a clear overarching story, at least um, as far as I've read. Again, I haven't finished it. I think I'm at like page, I don't know, 7,300, something like that. I don't know. I'm, again, rolling with the updates that are ongoing. But yeah, I know it ends on 8,000 something, so obviously I am nearing the beginning of the end. And yeah, my my feeling right now is just I'm so excited to read to the end and to just kind of partake in whatever comes next. And I know there are a lot of things like the epilogue and Homestuck 2 that is, it's kind of dubious if it's canon or not. I'm gonna read into it as if it's canon because I don't see why I wouldn't. Um, and I'm also so excited to see if the pilot becomes anything. I know that a lot of people have a lot of things to say about it. I feel like as a new gen, I can't really say much about it. Other than that, I think Dave is kind of mischaracterized in it. Like, he's way more lively and energetic than I picture him from the comic, but whatever. But yeah, I'm excited to see the rest of everything. So yeah, let's move on. So the next character is Rose Lalonde. Now, I love Rose. I think she's so cute. I think she can be a little bit of a bitch sometimes, low key. She's a little bit shady, but I love that about her. I think she is the person that I went most creative with when I drew the outfit. I gave her like a very kind of almost 60s kind of style with the style of top and haircut and everything, but I don't know, I feel like it really fits her. And also the skirt length I feel is very 60s. And I also gave her these gorgeous Mary Janes, which I could not do justice at all. I hate drawing shoes. But yeah, also I wanted to kind of spice up her outfit because yes, she's cute in her original outfit, but it just, on her sprite, it just looks kind of boring. I was fine with the way they did it in the game, but again, I feel like, the like t-shirt and everything, it just gets so plain and it's gets kind of repetitive when so many other characters have t-shirts and plain shirts. So again, I went in a little bit of another direction with this. I gave her a long sleeved shirt with colored sleeves and then her symbol on the chest, and then I gave her a black skirt like she has in the game, and then I gave her some, they're not really knee highs because they're kind of below the knee, but high socks with stripes on them. And then I also gave her some earrings. I don't think I drew a lot of characters with earrings because obviously they don't they don't really have ears in like the illustrations for some reason. But I gave her earrings because I feel like it fits her, and her little headband that I made black to match the skirt. Yeah, I gave her some more detail than the other characters because I feel like she is at least a little more interested in fashion than maybe the rest of them. I'm not sure. I know Jade shows interest in fashion later on as well. But yeah, I think she turned out really cute. I'm not gonna lie. I love her little outfit, and I think she looks just she has this like little shady like grin on her face, and I feel like that just fits her so well. I think out of all the pester logs between the human children, I think reading hers is what brings me the most joy because she's just I think she has a really funny dynamic with everyone, and I like this thing that she does where she kind of talks things out of people, meanwhile like feigning innocence. Like I feel like she has a way with words that makes people tell her things that maybe they didn't mean to tell her, and then she's like, what, I didn't do that, you just told me by your own volition, you know. And I think that's really funny. Also, I love the fact that she likes to write and stuff like that because I also like to write, and relating to characters is just fun. Like Dave, I gave her blonde hair. She has her hair is a little more blonde than Dave's, and they have literally the same nose because I wanted to have some part of their faces to be like similar, and obviously since Dave is wearing these sunglasses you can't see his eyes, so I was like, okay, they have to have the same nose. And I tried to just draw her nose so that it looked like his, but in the end I ended up just tracing his and putting it on her face just to make sure that like, okay, they have the same nose. All right. I have considered doing like a part 2 of this video where I draw them as adults. It would be kind of hard since some of the characters don't make it into adulthood. Not like out of the humans, but some of the trolls don't make it to adulthood. So I don't know how that would work, but it is something I'm willing to consider if you guys want to see that. I am also willing to consider to draw the alpha kids as well, and the ancestors of the trolls and stuff like that. Which version, which which parallel universe, I don't know, but you know. So let me know if you want to see anything like that. But yeah, that's Rose finished. I think she turned out good. I'm not gonna lie, I think she's really cute. You're going to see all of these characters lined up later as well, so you can see height differences and things like that as well. But yeah, let's move on. Now, the next character is Aradia Megiddo or Aradia. I don't really know how to pronounce her name. My girlfriend and I pronounce it differently, and she says that different people in the fandom pronounce it differently, so I don't know. But anyway, I feel like she is one of those characters that we don't really get to know that much in the series. Also, forgot to mention, obviously now we're starting to draw the trolls, in case you missed it. But yeah, I don't feel like we get to know Aradia or Aradia that much during the series, at least not this far. So I don't have too much to say about her, sadly. I think she's very pretty, and I wanted to kind of draw her pretty tall because she's always, I don't know if it's because she has her hair is kind of big or something, but she's always given me like tall energy. Obviously we just kind of have to go off of vibes here since their sprites are all the same height. um but yeah, she's always given me a bit of like tall energy, so I drew her quite tall. um and again, this also fits into the whole like being 13 thing of like everyone looking so different at that age. Obviously I don't really know how troll aging works in that way, but I mean, visually from what we've seen in the comic, it looks like their aging works kind of similarly, except obviously some blood casts live longer and stuff like that. But yeah, it was really fun drawing Aradia. Like I think I had, she was one of the trolls that I had the most fun drawing. Partially because she was the first one I drew, but also because her outfit was so interesting. I mean, she has this blouse, like this black blouse, and her symbol kind of like goes into the like where the shirt parts, where the shirt is buttoned. So I thought that was very fun. I also love her skirt that's kind of ripped, so you can see like her little socks. Her little these are actually knee highs, actual knee high socks. So you can see her little socks through, and I thought that was really cute, and I thought that was fun. I also decided to make the trolls blush their blood color. Now I know this might go against canon a little bit or something, because I know spoiler alert, Karkat has this really like bright red mutant blood that he has tried to hide his whole life. So obviously if they flushed that color, that would be kind of a giveaway, I guess. So I don't know if this really works in canon, but I think it's cute, so I'm sticking with it. So obviously she has red blush, and so she looks like a really pale human, low-key, if you look at it that way. Also, I made her hair a little bit more on like the wavy or curly side than she has in the comic, because again, I feel like everyone has the same hair texture, you know, and I wanted to do some variation, at least a little bit. So yeah. I also painted her nails red because I thought that was cute. Also, I think it's really funny that they're based on zodiac signs, or well, in canon, the zodiac signs are actually based on them. But whatever. I think it's funny because I personally do not like zodiac signs or astrology really at all. I think every way of like dividing humans into groups and like deciding that, hey, the month and date you were born determines how you're gonna be as a person, I just think that's annoying. Honestly, personally, I just find it a little bit annoying, and I think it can be kind of hurtful in some situations as well. Not that I'm saying that like it's so horrible to believe in zodiac signs or anything like that, not at all. I just mean that I think sometimes it can be kind of bitchy to be like, oh, you're this zodiac sign, so you're like this and this. I don't know. I'm just one of those people that don't like when people assume things about me or each other. I just think it's kind of like, I don't know, it's kind of unnecessary in my opinion. But anyway, moving on. I think that she turned out pretty good. I like the kind of ghostly qualities she has since, you know, she's dead. She's a ghost. and I wanted to make her like a little creepy, like she's kind of towering over you, kind of tilting a little bit unnaturally, and I feel like I captured that vibe good enough. But yeah, let's move on. So the next character is Tavros Nitram. Or Nitram? I don't know, man. Now, um, I'm going to be honest. Tavros was not my favorite character. When we first started reading the comic, he wasn't the worst by any means, but I just think he has a fuck ass haircut. I didn't like his haircut, and I didn't like the like expression he had on his face. I just thought he looked kind of creepy, and he just looked kind of freaky. I'm not gonna lie. I have since warmed up to him a bit. I mainly just feel sorry for him because I feel like a lot of shit happens to him all the time. Like, my dude cannot catch a break at all. But overall, he's not one of my favorite characters. I just feel like there's not much there for me to enjoy, Also, fun fact, because I brought up that I don't really like zodiac signs and like astrology earlier. I'm a Taurus, and that's obviously the sign that Tavros represents. So it's just kind of funny that I don't like him super much. But yeah, it was kind of a challenge to draw not someone sitting in a wheelchair, because that's kind of, it's just someone sitting, but it was hard to draw the wheelchair. And I know it's like a reoccurring issue where people who don't have a wheelchair draw wheelchairs, where you just draw almost a hospital wheelchair, like a really uncomfortable one, and it's just not super realistic that someone would be in one of those all the time. Like, the wheelchairs that people use day to day constantly, pretty much, they look a little different because they're supposed to be functional and easy to use and stuff like that. And I think the one I drew here for Tavros is leaning more towards a like hospital kind of wheelchair. I just wanted to bring that up so you guys know that that's something I did think about, because I just thought it feels like on Alternia, they obviously discriminate very heavily against people with disabilities, and I feel like the aids for people with disabilities, I think they're very few and far between. Like, I don't think there's that much available. So I just kind of figured it would kind of fit if his wheelchair was a little more like hospital-ish, like not super good quality, kind of uncomfortable, because Alternia just isn't inclusive. So it would just kind of represent like how it's really hard to be disabled on Alternia. Like, it just sucks ass. Like, obviously it's hard in real life too, but like Alternia just doesn't have any sort of like system to assist people who need assistance, I also made Tavros have this kind of nervous pose, like he's just like scratching the back of his head, looking away a little, because I feel like that's how he is most of the time. He's kind of unsure of himself, he doesn't have a lot of confidence, and he's just kind of nervous, which, something I can relate to, partially at least. Also, this might just be a personal opinion, but him wearing those socks and those sandals, like, he's wearing the type of sandals that are specifically made for your toes to be out, right? Like, he's wearing those types of sandals that are specifically made to be like airy and like for your little dogs to be free in the summer and stuff. And then he's just wearing socks. And I know some people do that, and it's not a crime. I just think it's a little bit unhinged. I'm not gonna. Maybe I'll get like flamed in the comments for saying that I hate astrology and I hate socks and sandals or something. I don't know, but yeah, I don't know. For me, not a bomb combo. If it works for him, that's amaze balls. I just don't vibe with it. Also, in his haircut that I talked about earlier that I do not like, in his sprite, he looks bald on the sides where his horns are coming out. That's what I don't like about it. I don't know why he would be just completely bald there. I don't know if that's just how his hair grows or if he actually cuts it that way. But in my rendition of him, I just gave him shorter hair there because I just couldn't bring myself to draw that haircut. I'm sorry. Sorry for all the Tavros slander. He's definitely not the worst character. I just don't like how he looks, Loki. Anyway, moving on. Next up is Sollux Captor. This is another character that I feel like I haven't really gotten a grip on, you know? Like, I know that he used to have a lisp and that he died and then came back, and that he has, you know, since his zodiac sign is like twins, he has everything is like two with him. He has two horns on each side. His eyes are two different colors, you know, stuff like that. I think that concept is really fun, by the way. But I know that Sollux is a quite like a loved character in the fandom. Like, I know that I heard of him before I ever got into Homestuck. So obviously a lot of people like him and a lot of people talk about him. I don't know. I just haven't formed any sort of connection to him, you know? I don't feel like I've got a good grip of who he is as a character, really. I don't know what it's because of, if it's because he hasn't been relevant enough in the story, or if I just haven't vibed or clicked with his personality. I don't know, but I don't have a lot to say about him, I think. So I'm just gonna talk about the design. For his for his hair, I think that's the thing I had the most fun with in this design, because his clothes are just kind of basic, just a t-shirt and jeans. But I did make his jeans very like puffy at the end, because I feel like he is the kind of dude who would have jeans with like heel bite. Like, he would have his jeans are under his shoes and dirty basically. But as I said, I did have a lot of fun with his hair to kind of make this really alt looking, I would say almost goth-ish kind of haircut. I'm not gonna lie to you, I said this to my girlfriend as well while I was drawing this. I was like, there was a moment where I was drawing his haircut that he did look like a pansexual mother of four or something. You know, it looked kind of like a haircut that like an older alt woman would have. No offense whatsoever, by the way, that's a compliment. I think those types of people are super cool. But maybe that type of haircut, that type of vibe is not one you would typically assign to a 13-year-old boy. But yeah, I think I did okay with him. I feel like he looks a bit older than some of the other characters, and again, I want it to be like that. I want some of them to look a little older, maybe even like 14, 15, and some of them to look a little younger, like maybe they look like they're 10 but they're 12, you know. Because I feel like that's just how it is. I cannot stress that enough, apparently. I also gave him like earrings because I just feel like he's the type of dude that would pierce his ears. I guess let me know if I'm wrong there. Also, I kind of had trouble because trolls have gray skin, right? And then they have different colors of blood, and his color is kind of like yellowish, leaning towards lime greenish. And it was just kind of hard to shade with that, or like make that into his like blush color, because he did just kind of look like a mossy rock, which is kind of cool. I'll give it, like, granted, it is kind of cool, but I did not want him to look like a statue or anything. So I don't know, I'm not super satisfied with that, how that came out, I think. Also, looking at it now in hindsight, I know he doesn't have this in his design, but I thought it would be kind of cool to get this like red and blue theme going on several places in his design instead of just with his eyes and his glasses. I know it's probably supposed to like stick out, but I don't know. I just think now in hindsight that it would have been cool if I incorporated that in some way in his outfit as well. I don't know, maybe on his shoes or something. or maybe that I would make his pants some type of color. I don't know, man. I also tried to give him this like slouched pose because I feel like when we've seen him illustrated separately from his sprite, he looks to have a pretty bad posture. So I kind of wanted to do that. I don't know how well I managed that, but I did something, alright. So I don't know. In the end, I would say I am okay with this design, but I feel like there are some things I could have tweaked to make it look a bit better. But you know, overall, I'm okay with it. So up next is Karkat Vantas. Now, like John, I think Karkat is the first of the trolls to be introduced in the comic, and it feels kind of like he's supposed to be not a main character, but like a main figure. Like it feels like him and John have kind of the same roles in the beginning of the comic. Um, Karkat is also a fan favorite, which I understand because he does stick out quite a lot from the other trolls. Both because he has so called mutant blood, but also because he has a very explosive personality due to being super insecure. He basically, I think his entire thing is just self hatred, pretty much. Um, he is one of my girlfriend's favorites. So I was really like, I want to do this guy justice. At the same time, he has a very simple design. He has a normal long sleeved shirt, like black. He has gray pants. He has black and white shoes. He has a very basic design. So I wanted to kind of for his personality to shine through in his pose and his body language instead. Again, I'm trying to work with more like poses with emotions and movements in them in this challenge. So I really wanted him to look angry, but without like flailing his arms all over the place, because at the end of the day this is a like character design thing, so I don't want to give them emotions that would, you know, twist their features all too much, so to speak. So he's just like pointing up at someone and just balling his little fists. Because I also have the headcanon that he's quite short. I know a lot of people have this headcanon. He just has, just like Aradia has tall energy to me, he has very short energy to me. I think it's because you want to picture him almost like a little barking chihuahua, you know, he's just super angry, going like like in people's faces all the time, and everyone's just looking kind of looking down at him like, okay, dude, whatever. I also think it's kind of funny, like his name is just kind of funny, like Karkat. So I decided to make his hair look kind of like cat ears, just for the hell of it. I know it's also like his horns are kind of supposed to look like little cat ears as well, which is just cute. I think at the end of the day, I'm very happy with his design. I think his design is one of the ones that I'm most satisfied with, and I know my girlfriend likes him, so that means a lot to me. But I think I really managed to capture this energy of him being super angry and just really badly wanting to be taken seriously, but he's just kind of small and cute, so no one really takes him seriously, which obviously sucks for him, but it's also kind of funny because he's, you know, like a 13-year-old kid, and his emotions are just a little bit too big for his body, I feel. I'm picturing that he does grow a bit taller when he's older, but right now he's quite short. Oh yeah, I also forgot to mention this. Since they don't have ears in the comics, I decided to take some creative liberty with their ears as well. So all the trolls have like pointy ears, kind of as an like alluding to troll folklore where they usually have pointy ears. I know this is a thing that other people in the fandom do as well. Also, just me being new gen in a fandom is like such a new thing for me. Like, obviously, I've been new to fandoms before, but never to one that is this old, I guess. Like, in most other fandoms I've been in, even if they've been ongoing for a while, it's been kind of normal for people to join at whenever. But in this fandom, since it's been running since like what, 2009 or something, 2010, I feel like people are making a lot much of a bigger deal about new people joining now, because some of these fans have been in these fandoms for like 15 years, and then there's new people coming in and you're like, what, where did you come from, you know? I mean, personally, I would have been kind of new gen to this fandom no matter how hard I tried, because frankly, I was 5 years old when Homestuck first came out, so I never really had the chance to be an OG fan, and obviously, since I knew about it as a kid and I still decided not to read it, I probably wouldn't have been even if I was older back then. But yeah, I'm also kind of happy that I joined this late as well. I'm not gonna lie, because I feel like I can enjoy it more normally than I would have if I was like 14 or something. I don't know. I feel like back in the day when I was in fandoms, there was so much focus on shipping. And of course, there's still a lot of focus on shipping, both within this comic and in the fandom. Nothing wrong with that. But I feel like as an adult, I can also enjoy other things like the storytelling aspects. As someone who writes and does storytelling myself, also as I'm not gonna lie, as someone who studies information design and graphic design at university right now, it's, it's so funny to see how Homestuck very willingly like breaks those barriers and really honestly breaks out of the format of what a comic or a game usually is, because what it really is an online interactive comic, and that's such a fun idea, and like I haven't seen that done before or after in the same caliber or in the same way. So I think Homestuck is very unique, and I feel like oftentimes it just kind of gets brushed off as this cringe fandom or whatever, or this cringy thing. But really, I think it's really cool. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, seeing this from a more like adult perspective, I think I see it in a different light that I would have when I was smaller. But yeah, anyway, let's move on to the next character. Next up is Nepeta Lejon. I don't I don't really know how to pronounce her surname, but whatever. I love Nepeta. She's really cute, and spoiler alert, I'm so sad that she died. She was probably the one troll that I mourned the hardest when she passed. Um I wouldn't say she's one of my like tops, like one of my most favorite characters, but she's definitely up there. I think she's just really adorable, and she seems like such a sweet girl. I had this really clear vision of what I wanted her pose to be. I really wanted her to make this like kitty paw pose. And like when I drew her hand, the one that's like up in the air, I was like, what the fuck came over me? I don't know, maybe it isn't as good as I think, but it's like a great hand, and I did not even have a reference or nothing. Like, I amazed myself. Um, so yeah, I'm pretty happy with how this came out, mostly because of that hand. Um, and she's so cute, and I love her little pose, and I love her little cape. I think the mix of like mossy green and really vibrant dark blue is kind of insane. I'm not gonna lie, but it's very her, and you know what? I respect it. She's one of those characters that I can imagine that some boring people today would be like, oh, she's so cringe, you know, she's really this kind of like raw XD type of character, you know, the type of character that is clearly inspired by like early 2000s internet lingo. I love that. I mean, I'm sure a lot of Homestuck fans are tolerant to cringe, considering it's kind of labeled as a cringe fandom. So I'm sure it's not really an issue in the fandom. It's not one I've seen anyway. But I think she's really cute. I love the way she types. I love how she seems so kind. I know that she is in an more allegiance. Is that how you say it? I think so. With Equius, who I hate. I despise him. I'm not gonna lie. We'll come back to that later, but But I think they have such a sweet dynamic, even if I really like her and I really don't like him. I think they're like so cute together with that dynamic. So I really love that. I made her little slippers into cats as well. I know that's not really a part of her original design, but I just thought it fit so well. I think she'd totally wear a pair of slippers like that. And oh, I love the way that her hat just makes her horns look like little kitty ears, and I made her fangs kind of look like cat teeth. I also, oh, I love how she keeps going on about like the shipping grids and how she keeps them on the walls like a little creep, and how she's like crushing super hard on Karkat and he's clearly not interested. Like, I love that she's like, oh my god, no one can find out about this crush, and everybody knows, including him, and everyone's just like, it is what it is. Again, I'm really super sad that she died, especially in the way that she did, and that she had to witness her Morel being killed too. Me and my girlfriend are, as previously mentioned, currently reading. My girlfriend is an OG. She is an old time fan. I'm new gen, so we're just reading it through it together. And the voice she makes for Nepeta is so cute. You know, how Nepeta like rolls her R's because she's kind of sounding like a purring cat. I think my girlfriend does that really well, and it's so cute. I wanted her hair. I know that on Nepeta we can't really see any hair stick out of her hood except for the hair at the front of her face. But I wanted to make like little hair strands like stick out on the sides. I wanted to give her a little haircut. It's fine if she would have looked a little bald too, like there's nothing wrong with being bald, but I don't know, I just feel like a little haircut like that would really fit her. So yeah, that's a choice I made. Now that we're like getting up in the blood casts a little, I'm noticing that people or trolls who are higher up on like their casts, that they have more colors and more like accent colors, and I don't know if that's an accident or if that's on purpose, but I think it's really cool if it is on purpose. So let me know if you know if it's on purpose or not, because I think it's cool. Anyway, let's move on to the next character. The next character is Kanaya Miriam. She is one of my most favorite characters, and I'm not gonna lie, I think she is my most favorite character, like of all. I think she's so incredibly cool, and I love her. I think her design is just so cute, and I love her little chainsaw moment, and she's such a badass, and I love how she turns into a vampire, and I'm just like, ah! I think what I love most about her design is her hair. She looks like, I know the sprites aren't that detailed, but like her haircut looks so fucking cool. And I had some trouble trying to nail that because I really wanted it to look as cool as I think it looks in the comic. And I did make her a little pale because I was trying to like give the trolls different tones of gray to kind of vary their signs a little. So she became a little pale, and obviously I'm depicting these characters how they are when they're introduced in the comic, and obviously she wasn't a vampire yet when she was introduced. And I didn't mean for her to look pale in a vampire way, but she kind of does. Although I guess that kind of works as foreshadowing, and it's kind of funny, so I don't think it's that bad. Um, but I gave her a t-shirt and then a little shirt under it, and then her iconic red skirt that I love, 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 love. It just fits her so incredibly well, in my opinion. I also do adore a female character who is kind of put in this mother role and who always tries to take care of everyone else around her, only to realize like, hey, I have to prioritize myself, because that is a thing that I think a lot of women go through, because we're kind of put in that role like socially. I know the trolls don't really have gender roles in that way, but I still really like to see that trope or that story reflected in Kanaya. I think it fits her very well, and how even though she's kind of thrust into that role through her blood caste, but also through like the story of her ancestors and stuff like that, she still breaks out of that role, and she still breaks that stereotype by also being this like absolute baddie with a chainsaw, you know? Also, her simping so incredibly much for Rose is just so adorable. Um, I love them so much. And again, spoiler, this video is very much a major spoiler. I know that some stuff happens between them in the universe. In Homestuck 2, and I know some people don't think Homestuck 2 is canon. I know it's called Beyond Canon. I personally see it as canon, and I know my girlfriend share that opinion, just because I think I don't think you should deem something not canon just because you don't like it. And also, I know it's like technically not canon, but I think that it is technically canon in the way that like this could potentially happen. However, obviously the original Homestuck follows a like alpha timeline, or like a timeline that is the right timeline, so to speak. And Homestuck 2 doesn't. It just has these like two parallel timelines that I don't think neither of them are like the major timeline or anything. They just both exist, and that's why people are like, oh, it's not canon. And I can agree that like, yeah, maybe there's a third or fourth or whatever timeline that is supposed to be like the alpha one, and those two timelines just don't fit into that one. It just sounds like I'm talking a bunch of bullshit right now, isn't it? Like, but you get it. What I think about Homestuck 2, what I headcanon for Homestuck 2, is that they are two plausible timelines, but they're not necessarily how stuff has to happen, you know? But anyway, I just wanted to throw in there that although like I'm also a bit skeptical to some stuff that I know happens in Homestuck 2, that doesn't mean that I'm gonna be like, it's not canon, you guys, this character would never do that, because at the end of the day, I think we should all try to tolerate the thought of our favorite characters doing wrong, because I think that's really good character writing, in my opinion. But anyway, now I've talked away poor Kanaya's minutes on this, but yeah, final thoughts. I love the way Kanaya turned out, and I'm glad I do, because it's important to me that she turns out well, because I love her. I love the colors. I love the little pose I put her in. I think it fits her so well, and the little expression I gave her. I actually gave her that expression so that I could put her next to Rose, and they would kind of look at each other a little like flirtingly. But yeah, let's move on. Next is Terezi Pyrobe. Now, Terezi is another one of my faves. I think she is so quirky and funny, and she just keeps licking screens, which I find hilarious. I also love that she's just obsessed with like candy, really bright red. I also love her hair. I love her hair so much. I also really like her design. I know she has all black clothing, which it's kind of boring. I think you could have at least like thrown a belt in there, but it does make her shoes and her cane and like her glasses pop really well, so that's nice. Also, her like zodiac symbol pops really well. I also do like that she is drawn to be plus size in the game. I don't know if that's canon or not, but I do love to see representations of different body types, not just because I'm plus sized myself, but also because like it just makes the characters look way more interesting when put next to each other. I know Homestuck has kind of the problem where every character has the same body type and height and everything when they're drawn. Obviously their sprites are the same size, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when they're drawn more like detailed during the series, like during more dramatic or serious scenes. They all kind of have the same like stick um, limbs and everything. And I understand it's because of the time when it was written, like in the early 2000s, early 2010s. It was obviously very normalized to be very thin, and that was kind of seen as the average and how every person should look. But I think in this day and age, I mean, we should just strive away from that. I know a new wave of glorifying being super skinny, being unhealthily underweight has come upon us, and it saddens me a lot. Again, not just because I'm plus size, and that obviously affects me a lot, both like how people treat me socially, insanely enough, but also when it comes to finding clothes that fit my body and stuff like that. And I mean, I'm not like classified as obese or super big or anything like that. I am overweight, but like I can't imagine if I have trouble finding like pants and stuff that fit me. I can't imagine how it is for people who are bigger than me, and that is just insane, frankly. So getting back to what I was talking about, I think it's great to see the representation of different body types in characters, which is why I make all of these characters in my designs different heights, different weights, different proportions, and everything, because I think it's really important to work that in there. And you'll see the end result later where all characters are like lined up, and I just think it looks so much more interesting that way than how it would have looked if they were all skinny and approximately the same height and stuff like that. It also, I know I've brought this up a lot, sorry if it's like annoying, but I also think it gives a much more accurate representation of how people there, like the characters' ages look. Everyone is different sizes, different heights, at different stages of becoming adults, and I just love being able to represent that because it's a really awkward stage, and I feel like media has problems portraying that stage of life between like 11 and 13. Media loves to portray children as like 5-year-olds, and then all of a sudden they just jump into being teens at like 16, and those ages in between kind of get erased. So I just felt it important to represent in that area because I did feel very lost at that age. I didn't feel like there were many characters that represented me good, and I felt kind of like stuck between being a child and being a teenager. So yeah, I promise I will stop talking about that. I know I've talked about it a lot in this video, but it is an interesting age, so yeah. Anyway, I like the way Terezi turned out. I think her pose fits her well and stuff like that. I think I could have made it a little more like movementy, but also I recognize that not every character moves a lot. Some people or some characters are a bit like less frantic in their motions. I don't know about Terezi. I mean, she is kind of insane, but that doesn't have to mean she's very jolty and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I'm fine with how she turned out. Let's move on. Next up is Vriska Circuit. Now, this is obviously kind of a controversial character. Some people defend her, and some people, judge her and like hate her for her actions. Me personally, I think she's a very well written character. I think she has huge issues that she just refuses to do anything about, and she keeps acting like an asshole. She keeps using people, she keeps hurting people on purpose, and she keeps dismissing their feelings when they eventually tell her that she's hurting them. So obviously she's a very bad person, but I do think she's a very well written character, and I do get why people like her because of that. However, I do not agree with people trying to defend her actions and saying that she has issues and yada yada yada. I do kind of have an ick for things like that when a character is obviously written to be a very bad person and they are very flawed and they do things they do like very terrible things, and then people just try to excuse that with, oh, but they have trauma and stuff like that. And it's just like, it, someone having trauma, yes, when they act bad, of course it's of value to mention that, yeah, this is because of their trauma, but it doesn't excuse anything they're doing, you know? Because it very well might be that whatever their trauma stems from, that might also be from someone who's suffering from trauma. You know, it's this like vicious cycle of, oh, a traumatized person traumatizes someone else, and then that person is traumatized and they keep traumatizing other people. It's like, well, yeah, well, just because you have trauma, it doesn't excuse your actions. It might make them more understandable or make someone understand why you're acting like that, but it doesn't excuse those actions, you know? Kind of an off tangent, sorry, but I think that's why Vriska is such a controversial character. I mean, I'm a new gen, but I have seen people talk about that she's always been a controversial character, and people are always like fighting about whether you're allowed to like her or not. I think go ahead, very well. I completely understand the appeal of just very unhinged, evil characters, as I would call her. As long as you don't try to justify their actions. Like, again, I think it's completely valid to point out the reason why they're acting like that. But you gotta keep in mind, like, just because they have a reason doesn't make it right, you know? But anyway, I had like such a hard time drawing her pose for some reason. Like when I made the little skeleton thing in the beginning to kind of pose her, I really liked it. But then when I started drawing her, I don't know, I just had such trouble like drawing her face, making her look right. Like getting her hand right, and obviously she's covering part of her face, but I didn't want her to cover too much of her face at the same time, so it was just like I don't know, I just I'm not completely satisfied with how it turned out. I'm not completely disappointed either. I think definitely could have been worse, but I'm not the most satisfied with it either. I don't know. I think I could have done her more justice. I don't know how, but I think I could have done it somehow. I do love her color scheme though. I do know she wears mainly black, but I did add a little red belt just to kind of get the red more in there. It's just in Homestuck they wear a lot of black, and like, oh, this is a shade of gray, and then there's black under it, and it's just like, it's hard to draw and make it look okay. Like, it looks okay on the sprites and when it's a more simplistic style, but when you try to draw it with more detail, with shading and stuff like that, it's just kind of hard. But yeah, here she is, all finished up, the controversial queen. Yeah, let's move on. The next character is Equius Sahak, or Sahak, I don't really know. And I fucking hate this dude. I'm not gonna lie, I hate him. I hate him so much. I think he's so disgusting. Like, personality-wise, he's not even one of the worst characters. He can actually be quite nice at times, but he's just so fucking nasty, bro. I can't get over it. Like, I think my issue with him is he reminds me too much of real boys and men that I've met throughout my life that has disgusted me in one way or another. And it's just, I don't know, the fact that he's sweating all the time, combined with the fact that he's horny all the time, combined with the fact that he's drinking milk from like a grown man hybrid loses things udder, combined with the fact that, like, with all this sweat and all this disgustingness, he's like wearing these fuck ass long socks, and I don't know, I just imagine that he smells like the worst thing you've ever smelled. Like, imagine all of those things, like the milk drinking, the sweating, the horniness, and then just mix that with the fact that he smells like developing teen, like I don't know, I can't stand him. He's so fucking gross. That being said, I think he turned out well. somehow. I think he looks a lot like how I picture him looking. He looks super sweaty, super gross. I do have grown to like his fuck ass haircut. I'm not gonna lie, it's a really ugly haircut, but it really fits him. And I like that one of his horns are broken. That's about what I like about him. Maybe I sound like an asshole for dunking on like a 13-year-old this hard, but I feel like he's just so gross, man. I can't stand it. Again, I think it's because he's too realistic. Like I would say this type of character, this type of person is more common in like older teens, but he just reminds me so much of like gross gym bros who think they're really cool and they've like grown out their hair but they never wash it, and it's like, if you have long hair you have to take care of it, dude. Also, like, that coupled with the fact that he has this like caste kink, you know, and like kink of like people controlling him or him controlling, like he has this very clear like power dynamic kink, and that would be funny in itself if it wasn't for the fact that the rest of him is so gross. um and like literally, I need a towel has become like an inside joke for me and my girlfriend every time we're showering. It's like, I need a towel, and I'm like, no! Quite literally, I think there's few characters that disgust me as much as this one. That being said, I do think he's well written because, again, he reminds me of a lot of real people that are like that, and I think that's a sign that he is well written. And also, why is it common for like cartoon characters and just characters to have like a horse obsession? Like, this is the second character I come across that has this really major horse thing, like the first one being Blitz from Hell of a Boss. Is this a thing that I should know about or that I maybe should stay away from? I don't know. One thing I do appreciate with him is that he is a Sagittarius, I don't know, that it's represented by a arrow and a bow. It's actually called skytten in Swedish, which means, like archer. And I think it's really funny that he's just really bad at archery and that his entire thing is like bow and arrow, and then he can't, use a bow and arrow at all, and he even has it in his typing quirk, and he's just really bad at using it. I think that's really funny. He has a funny personality. Again, he's a funny character. He's just so gross that I like every time he pops up in the comic, I'm like, ew. Can we just skip this part, Loki? Like, I don't know. I can't stand him. I think you've got that point. I've got that point across at this point, but yeah, I'm just rambling to kind of put an end to this, I guess. But yeah, again, I think he turned out good. He's one of my girlfriend's favorite designs of mine. So yeah, I guess I did something right with him. But yeah, let's just move on. I don't want to be here anymore. The next troll is Gamzee Makara. Gamzee is again one of my least favorites, not because he's gross or because he's like badly written or anything. I don't like his actions. I don't like his little murder spree that he went on. And I see a lot of people trying to be like, no, but he's different when he's sober versus when he's like high of the fucking green slime pies he eats. And I'm just like, I feel like if you're the sober version of you is the worst one, then you're just not a good person, you know what I mean? Like, if you have to eat slime pies in order to be chill, and if you don't eat them, you kill everyone, I feel like you probably aren't a very good person. And it's like, yeah, sure, he was triggered by that fucking ICP video, and it was Dave's fault and everything, and it's just like, was it though? I feel like if one video criticizing your faith, it will send you into a murder spree, there was something wrong with you to begin with. Like, imagine a Christian being so ticked off by, like, I don't know, fuck me in the ass because I love Jesus, you know that song? Imagine a Christian being so ticked off by that song that they just go on a murder spree. because someone disrespected your religion. Like, you see what I mean? Like, it's not. And then they're like, no, but I'm not like this when I do heroin, you guys. And it's like, I don't know. Like, I think he's a funny character, and obviously it's completely okay to like morally bad characters. There's nothing wrong with that at all. I just I went from having no particular opinion on him to disliking him quite heavily because of what he did. And I think that's valid. He killed Nepeta. He killed Nepeta. The fact that he killed Equius and the fact that he killed Eridan, I'm like, okay, I low-key would have done that too. But killing Nepeta? Nah. Not acceptable. Not okay. I will not respect. But aside from my personal thoughts on him as a character, I think it's really interesting that this whole like concept of kind of Jekyll Hyde, that when he's eating these slime pies, he's this really kind of chill dude, and he's just down to clown, quite literally, and down to just chat with anybody, chill out, you know, drink Fago, and then as soon as he's off those pies, he's just super emo, super edgy, super evil. And it's like, it's just interesting to me what the implications of those things mean, you know what I mean? Like, why is he like that? I don't know, maybe it comes to that. Maybe you'll get to know that later in the series, and I just haven't reached that point. Which, if you are confused what I know and what I do not know of Homestuck at this point, because I know I've mentioned that I follow the updates of the original comic, and so that's how far I've come with that. But I do evidently know a bunch of stuff that happens in like Homestuck 2 and the epilogues and stuff like that, and that's because my girlfriend, before I got into Homestuck, told me a bunch of stuff about it, thinking I would never get into it, and then I got into it, so now I know a bunch of stuff. It doesn't really bother me. Spoilers generally don't bother me that much. But just so you guys understand, like, kind of where I'm at in the story, basically, I know everything up until the update, and then I know a bunch of relationship stuff that happens in the epilogues and in Homestuck 2, basically. But other than his personality, I love the way that Gamzee looks. I love his really long horns and his really like big hair, and his like kind of pajama-ish pants that are that have like this dot pattern on it. I gave him socks instead of shoes. Like, he's not wearing any shoes in my design because I just feel like he's that chill. He just walks around in socks everywhere, and it's kind of gross, but it's like, I feel like that's pretty him. I also made it so that his like white clown makeup is kind of smeared over his hands and his shirts and stuff, because I mean, he's a little high. He's very high, and I feel like he doesn't maybe care about his appearance that much, so he just goes around smudging that throughout the day. I also made him really tall. I don't know if it's I don't think they have canon heights like that. I don't know. But I made him really tall because he feels like he would be really tall, and kind of this, you know, really tall, lanky, scary figure in the background just staring at you, kind of. But yeah, that's Gamzee. The next character is Eridan Empora. I hate Eridan. He's one of my most hated characters. I hate his personality. I hate the way he looks. He's a swine, honestly, in my opinion. I think he's pretty much the worst. I feel like him and Vriska are just as bad, but I somehow dislike him even more. Like, he's less palatable to me than her. I think it's just a mix of him having such high confidence and yet such low self-esteem at the same time, and the way he's so desperate for someone to be with him, but no one wants to be with him because frankly he's just a bad person and a drag to be around. The way he cannot handle rejection, the way he's such an incel. Like, I'm sorry, but he just feels like such an incel to me, and I hate it. I do like his color scheme, I'll admit that, but like I hate it. His personality just fucking sucks. And again, I think he's well written. I think most characters in Homestuck are well written, but he's just so fucking gross. I wanted to give him this really exaggerated, like disgusted kind of face, because I know he's very like classist or whatever. He's like really sticking to the caste system when everyone else has just kind of abandoned it a bit after Alternia was destroyed. And I think it's just him clinging on to the system because he's really high on it. It's like, ew, gross. I do, as I mentioned, love his color scheme though. I like the little like details of gold in the middle of all the blues and purples. I know that's just an element that he has in his like game design, but I did love it, so I added it to mine as well. Also, I know that he's kind of like a fish-ish troll, fish type, I don't know, or water dweller, I think they're called. And I saw that they did this in the game, and that I've seen some fan art where they do this, that they kind of take his little gills that he has on his cheeks and turns it into his ears, and I thought that was a good idea, so that's what I did too. His pose, I think, would have been better without the cape, but obviously I couldn't remove the cape, so it is what it is. I am not super satisfied with his face. I think his glasses, since the rims are pretty thick, they kind of covered up his eyes a little, and I'm not super satisfied with that. I think I could have done something to remedy that. Like, because it's quite a cartoonish style, I think it would have done him better if the glasses had been comically like larger than they are, just to kind of show his eyes better. But you know, it's details. I also gave him long nails because I feel like he would have, you know, he's this really fancy, like upper class man, and he has his polished little nails. Me and my girlfriend have these. Sorry, I keep talking about my girlfriend. She's the only other Homestuck fan I know in real life. But I make this like British voice for him. I cannot do a good British accent. Like, I can do a British accent that would probably be passable for good for like an American, but I think if I spoke it like in front of a British person, it would be kind of embarrassing. Also, I know that there's no such thing as a British accent. Like, obviously there's a lot of different accents in England and the British Isles, but yeah. And we kind of gave him that accent because obviously he has some elements inspired by Harry Potter, and also it's just kind of a stereotype that these like really fancy, like high stature like people are British, because it's like stems from British royalty and everything. But yeah, I'm fine with how he turned out. I think I could have done some things differently, although I don't quite know how. So I'm okay with how he turned out, but I could have been more okay with how he turned out, if that makes sense. So I'm not satisfied with it entirely, but it'll do, basically. But yeah, again, I dislike him, so let's move on. Now this brings us to our last character for this video, Feferi Pixes. Feferi is another character in this franchise that I don't have much of an opinion on or much to say about. I feel like she was only there for a short time. She was introduced quite late because she's like in the higher caste and she's kind of a different breed of troll. And then she was, well, killed. So she didn't play a very big role, I feel, in Homestuck, other than obviously she was supposed to be an empress and she turned it down, essentially. I feel like she's a really nice character. I did really sympathize with her relationship with Eridan and how she was like, how do I end it in like a good way, and he just didn't accept it, and I was like, oh, like that must suck. I haven't personally really been in a situation like that, thank thank God. But I do really feel for the people that have. I know a lot of people, especially women, go through that where men kind of make their advances and you say no and they just won't accept it, kind of, and it's just like, it's just nasty. I hate it. And I'm really sad about the way she died. She did not deserve that shit, and Eridan can go fuck himself. Sorry. Um, no, but actually, justice, justice for Feferi. Honestly, like, she's such a sweetheart, and she did not deserve to go that way whatsoever. I do really like all the accessories she has, like her little tiara thing and her necklace and her ankle and wrist bands or bands. I don't know what they call them, jewelry. Um, I don't know. I just really like her design, and I like her little train she has and her big like fluffy hair. And I don't know if her glasses are supposed to look like swim goggles. I assume they are. But they're really cute regardless. I love the pose I gave her. I think she looks quite energetic and happy, and I feel like that's how she is as a person. I also decided to make her plus size because I noticed they did this in the game, and I also, again, I think it's really important to show different body types and stuff like that in characters, and this was my last chance to do so, so I did it, and I think it fits her really well, and she's really cute. And I also love her, like, gills that she has on her throat. I think it really adds to her design, and I also think it's so fun that she has all of these like little details and stuff that most other characters don't, because obviously she's the highest up in the like the caste system, and that would probably make her have like a bunch of jewelry and stuff that other characters would not have. I think it's really interesting to compare her design to someone like Karkat, maybe, who has a very simple outfit, simple design, not a lot of colorful elements, and then it's her, and it's just like, I think it represents their caste system in a really interesting way. I did the same thing with her as I did with Eridan, and I made her like little fins into ears. I think I accidentally said gills when I talked about his ears. My bad. Sometimes my English just stops working. I always think that my English is so damn good, and then I try to speak it for more than like 10 minutes, and I'm like, well, maybe I got some stuff to work on, you know? Because I keep forgetting words. And like talking to people who are native English speakers is the most humbling experience, low-key, because I feel like I'm such a god at English here in Sweden, where most people maybe don't speak it as fluently as I do, and then I speak to people who has that as like their mother language, and I'm like, well. But yeah, anyway, even though I do not have like really strong feelings about Feferi or anything, I think it was really fun to draw her, and she was a very good conclusion to these designs, and I am happy with how she turned out. So, now that's all the characters finished, and so this marks the end of this video. It was a lot of fun to make. I've got a lot going on at uni at the moment, or not really at uni since I'm doing an internship for uni. And it's at a museum. It's very fun, but obviously there's a lot of new things to learn and a lot of things to do and stuff like that. So, you know, my days are very busy. And I find when I'm very busy and I'm kind of stressed and nervous and stuff like that, having a fandom to kind of hyperfixate on really helps me. Like, it really does. Completely non-ironically. So yeah, this video was very fun for me to make. Let me know how it sounds without the script. I know that obviously I say and like make a lot of pauses when I don't have a script, since I'm just literally just speaking into the open without planning ahead of what I'm gonna say. That being said, that also might lead me to get some things about like the Homestuck lore wrong and stuff like that as well, so I apologize if anything in this video is like not factually correct. I'm a new gen. And there's a lot of lore, a lot of stuff to know about Homestuck, so it's very easy to be wrong about things. But yeah, let me know if having no script worked, or if I should just write scripts for every single video from now on, and this was just kind of a disaster to listen to. It's hard to tell yourself when you make a video like this, because I rant like this to my friends and my family all the time, and obviously it works in a conversation. Maybe it's a little annoying to listen to, but like it might be not fitting for a video like this. I don't know, but you know, let me know. And also, let me know if you want a part 2 to this. If y'all want me to draw the Alpha Kids, you know, Roxy, Jake, Dirk, and Jane, then let me know. I can also draw the Dancestors or the Ancestors. I'll draw anyone at this moment, girl. Like, I'm obsessed with this series right now, so I can make quantities of content. I can make a lot of content if you guys want to see that. So yeah. But yeah, without further ado, thank you so much for watching this video. I don't know if I'm gonna post anything else before Christmas and New Year's, so in case I don't, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's. I hope all of y'all had a great year, and if you didn't, I hope the next year will be better for you. But that being said, thank you so much for watching. Good luck to you, and have a great life.